Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to go over the career intervention proposal paper and presentation, two elements of this assignment. So I'm going to share my screen and share a few details. So just 1 second as I pull it up. Okay. All right. So here's the syllabus for our course, and the career intervention proposal paper you see is worth 30 points for this, and then the presentation is 10 points. Uh, so here is the basic information about this assignment. It's not the full information, but it just highlights a bit of, you're choosing a population, you're going to be applying a theory to intervene to help that population and kind of recognizing their developmental stage and needs and how to meet those through your intervention. It needs 6 peer-reviewed articles. It's between 4 and 6 pages. But that's for the paper, and that's due on December 6th. But the PowerPoint presentation is due on November 20th. And it's, through the discussion board, it's where you're going to post that PowerPoint presentation so that your peers can see it, get feedback. You're required to respond to at least one peer's presentation by Friday. So that's November 22nd. So I just wanted to highlight the syllabus where you can find some information. And then, but down below, I'm scrolling past the calendar, past the autobiography rubric area. And here is where the bulk of the information is. So I really want you to understand this assignment because here's where I give a lot more details. So this first portion is pretty similar to what was written above, but the proposal will include the following things. So if you want to get full points, you have to follow these areas. These 6 areas are required. And I give a suggested page length, and that's kind of emphasizing how many, what I'm most looking towards. So I'm mostly looking towards the suggested page length is 2 to 3 pages for the actual lesson plan or counseling intervention plan. So make sure you emphasize that and give that the space it needs. Sometimes when students in the past haven't gotten full point, it's usually because they've maybe given way more emphasis to one of these other areas and not really highlighted the counseling intervention plan in as much detail. So I'll go through these briefly. So starting off, I just need a short description of the client population that you're planning on working with. It can be really targeted and specific to, like, I don't know, it could be 13-year-old females in public school education in the Midwest. It can be really specific if you want, or it can be pretty general. I'm just saying adults, in the pre-retirement stage. So adults around age 50 to 60. So yeah, you can make that choice and make sure that you address their developmental needs. And this can be where you're maybe kind of tentative, like you can address theories or Erickson's theory or just some general principles. But what might their key developmental needs be based on where they're at? And once again, that's half to 1 page. Then a brief overview of the career theory that you've chosen to kind of form the foundation of this approach. So here you're just, once again, it's just kind of a basic summary of the key points of the theory. And particularly it needs to be clear, like, okay, how this theory is then going to inform the lesson plan or counseling intervention plan. So that's been another area where at times, right here, lay out the principles/interventions from the career theory that form the foundation, pathway, or process for your intervention. Sometimes students have chosen a theory, but then basically presented a lesson plan or a counseling intervention plan that is disconnected from the theory. So there needs to be a clear connection of the theory into that lesson plan or counseling intervention plan. And let me highlight this again. So the lesson plan, the reason why I put lesson plan is because sometimes it can be for like school counseling track folks. It's really regular to do lesson plans like social emotional or career or academic intervention or just lessons to a group of students. So that's the language there. Then the counseling intervention plan, that can be a one-on-one counseling session, that can be a group counseling session, whatever you want it to be. So there's a lot of, there's room for you to create this plan to be what you want. So yeah, just the key is like clearly address how the career theory is informing this intervention plan and how it's meeting the developmental needs of the population that you address at the start of your paper. And this is, once again, the 2 to 3 pages. And this one's just kind of the materials or the space you might need. That could be like if you're using assessments, those would be some of the materials. If you're doing a group format, how would you need like the space arranged to make sense for it? If you're doing something with children that's experiential or play based, like what play materials and space requirements might you need? Some students have done like, you know, career fair type things to where you need like a larger system and setup and a process for how to facilitate the flow of that fair. So anyways, you can describe that. And that's once again not meant to be any major length, half page. And then a description of how your plan or how you plan to evaluate the intervention's effectiveness. So once again, that's not expected to be a really long portion. Just a half page is the suggested length that I give you, but it's a really important phase. Like, how do you know that it's successful? Like, what data are you, you know, receiving from either the clients, the students, to know that it's successful or not? That can be quantitative, that can be qualitative, it could be formal, informal. You make that decision, but just be thinking about how to know that you're actually meeting what your hopes are. And then the last piece is that you need research that supports the intervention plan. So there must be, as it says there, a minimum of 6 peer-reviewed sources. And you can have this as its own section, as it says there. Like some students just at the very end just kind of talk about, okay, here are articles that support this intervention plan from the theory base of how I chose to implement it with this specific group or with this specific demographic. Or it can just, the references can just kind of be highlighted throughout the paper. I recommend that one because it kind of makes sense that you're citing your sources throughout as you're going, and you're citing, if there's something about the effectiveness or about the career theory that's supporting your intervention, you can just put that in that section. But it's ultimately up to you. Then I have the rubric here that kind of guides you on some of the key pieces. This one's the central piece, is that you're addressing all 6 areas. All 6 areas need to be addressed thoroughly, and then ultimately should be just fine. I do give a bit more feedback on the lesson or counseling plan portion just because it is emphasized a bit more. And then I basically re-highlight the need for the 6 peer-reviewed journal articles. So that is the assignment. So just remember that the first portion of this assignment is just the presentation. I recommend a PowerPoint presentation, but you can also use, Google Suite has a form of presentation as well. You don't have to like cram tons and tons of like words and just write your whole paper and put it into a PowerPoint. Just kind of hit the key pieces for the PowerPoint presentation, but that someone reading it who's unfamiliar with it can at least kind of track what you're doing. So once again, the key is that that's helping you to kind of conceptualize the larger process for this assignment, and then it'll kind of help guide you to writing your paper, but it'll also be a way to kind of present to your peers and show different ideas of how to apply career theory. So that's the first step, is that just the presentation, kind of the overview of what you're doing, and making sure that you address all 6 of those areas that I just went over from the syllabus in that presentation. And then the second piece after the presentations is later on at the start of December, near the end of the semester, that paper's due, that where you'll go into more specific details. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out, but that's kind of the basics for this assignment. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think this can be a really cool part of the semester where you can just choose things that are, resonating for you, that you're excited about, that are hopefully relevant. Like I hope some of you actually implement these intervention plans in your sites, or, after you graduate, that it's something you really care about. So I hope you find that connection. All right, reach out. Thanks.